His name was George Floyd, and everything changed on May 25, 2020 because of him. But before the world knew his name, before his death sparked the largest movement in modern history, George Floyd had a story nobody talks about. A redemption story, a second chance story, a resurrection story. He was born in Fayetteville, North Carolina, moved to Houston's 3rd Ward as a child, the poorest section of Houston, got a scholarship to college, nearly made it as an athlete. But like many young black men, the professional dream slipped away, so he turned to the streets. Between 1997 and 2005, he was in and out of prison, theft, trespassing, drugs. In 2007, he committed an armed home invasion that got him 5 years in state prison. But in 2013, something changed. According to the article documented by California State University professor Malik Simba, George Floyd was released from prison and joined Resurrection Houston, a Christian ministry. He delivered meals to the poor. He ministered to people just like him. He ministered to his own community. When his mother had a stroke in 2013, he was there for her. He tended to her. He stayed. Then in 2014, he moved to Minneapolis, seeking new opportunities. He worked as a truck driver, a bouncer at a nightclub. In 2020, he was building a new life. Nobody knew George Floyd's name because he was doing the quiet work of redemption. Then on a street corner in Minneapolis, Derek Chauvin pressed his knee on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds and changed the world forever. One video. One bystander named Darnella Frazier recording on her phone. That single video sparked something that hadn't happened since the civil rights movement. According to polls documented by the Pew Research Center and Academic Research, between 15 and 26 million people took to the streets in the United States in just the first week, in 2,000 cities and towns covering 40% of all counties, the largest protests in U.S. history. According to documented reports from the Center for Strategic and International Studies and News Archives, protests erupted in 93 countries on every continent except Antarctica: Paris, Berlin, London, Tokyo, Rio de Janeiro, Sydney, Nairobi. People kneeled for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, the time Chauvin's knee was on Floyd's neck, in solidarity with a man they'd never met from a country they'd never been to. Why? Because George Floyd's death represented something bigger than George Floyd. According to research from the Washington Post and international news sources, protesters in Colombia marched for both Floyd and Anderson Arboleda, killed by their own police. In Sydney, protesters connected Floyd's death to David Dugay, an Aboriginal man who was suffocated while saying the same words, "I can't breathe." In Paris, they marched for Adama Traore. In South Africa, they marched for Collins Kosa. Everywhere, people understood. This wasn't just about one man in Minneapolis. This was about oppression wearing a uniform all over the world. But here's what the world didn't know. According to documented accounts, George Floyd's life before May 25th was a testimony to transformation. He had come back from prison. He had rebuilt himself. He had joined churches and community organizations. He was mentoring young people. He was becoming the man his community needed him to be. And then he was killed by the one institution that was supposed to protect him. His 8-year-old daughter, Gianna, told President Joe Biden something prophetic. "Daddy changed the world." She was right. According to documented policy changes, George Floyd's death led to the most significant police reforms in decades. Derek Chauvin was convicted of second-degree murder on April 19, 2021. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act was introduced in Congress. Corporations pledged hundreds of millions to social justice. Police departments across the nation reformed. Statues came down. The military renamed bases. The moment changed everything. But it shouldn't have taken a death to make the world listen to a man's redemption story. That's the tragedy. George Floyd spent years building himself back up from nothing. He survived prison. He survived poverty. He survived the 3rd Ward. He survived the struggle of being a black man in America. He found faith, he found purpose, he found community, he became someone. And then, a knee on his neck took it all away. Yet, paradoxically, his death did what his life, his beautiful, redemptive life, couldn't do alone. It woke up the world. This Black History Month, don't just remember George Floyd as a martyr. Remember him as a man who came back from the edge, a man who was rebuilding, a man who was serving, a man who earned his second chance and was living it. And remember that it shouldn't take a death for us to celebrate a resurrection. And it shouldn't take tragedy for us to honor redemption. His name was George Floyd. He was 46 years old. He was somebody's son, somebody's father, somebody's brother. He was becoming somebody again. And the world will never forget him, because 26 million people wouldn't let us. They still won't.